everybody. That's right, we're doing a 2-in-1 tonight. Because why not, right? Alright, I'll get right into the video. This is about a time, or one of the many times I skipped school. So this specific story takes place when I was a junior in high school. So like I said in my last video, I went to a private school. And the thing was, my public school, like my town school, they were off this day. And I remember the night before, one of my boys, we'll call him Tim. Tim hits me up like, yo, bro, me and Pavel are going to Dave and Buster's tomorrow since we don't have school tomorrow. Would you want to come? And I was like, damn, bro, I ain't trying to get in trouble again for skipping school, all that. But he's like, come on, dude, don't be a baby. It'll be a lot of fun. And I was like, you know what? Screw it. So the thing about my private school, and I'm going to be real, it was a special ed school. I ain't gonna lie, I got a little bit of ADHD. I have trouble paying attention, read, and all that stuff, which is totally fine, obviously. But the thing about it was, I went there from 7th grade till I graduated, but towards like the end of ninth grade, that shit was just way too easy. I felt like I wasn't learning anything anyway. So at that point, I was a junior anyway. I felt like, you know what, who really cares? It's not like I'm gonna learn anything valuable or anything like that. So I was like, you know what, screw it, whatever. So the night before, I say to my parents, yo, I ain't feeling too good, all that. And like, alright, see how you feel in the morning. Now, side note here, my younger brother went to my public school, and they knew he had the next day off. And he was in 7th grade at the time, and I was like, I gotta put that in the factor too. What if he said something? But I'm like, you know what, my brother wouldn't snitch. So the next day rolls around. My dad comes in my room, wakes me up. I'm like, Dad, I'm really not feeling good. And I forget what I did. I think I pretended to have a cough or my stomach hurt. I forget exactly. And then my dad was like, all right, but you have to go tomorrow. I'm like, all right, fine, fine, fine. So I go back to sleep. By the time I wake back up, it's like 9:30, thereabouts. My dad's gone, my mom's gone. They're both at work. Then my brother wakes up. Then he's like, bro, you skipping? I'm like, yeah, bro, I am. I'm like, don't tell mom and dad, please. He's like, nah, dude, I don't give a fuck, bro. Do what you want. So I'm like, bet. And then I remember that Tim had a younger brother named, what should we call him? We'll call him Anthony. So Tim had a younger brother named Anthony that was also going to that public school. And he was my brother's age. So I mentioned it to my brother. I'm like, yo, I'll see if Anthony can come too to Dave and Buster's. And he was like, oh, bet. So I hit up Tim like, yo, bring your younger brother. My brother wants to go too. And then he's like, okay, bet. So he pulls up to my house around like 11:30 thereabouts, and we head to Dave and Buster's for like noontime. And we were having a blast. We were there for like 2.5 hours. I wanted to stay longer, but I remember my dad got home from work around like 3:15, and if he found that I skipped school again, he wouldn't be too happy. So I was like, all right, guys, like we got to get going. All that stuff. My dad's coming home, and Tim's like, oh yeah, true that. So I get home, I shit you not, just in time, like maybe 2 minutes before my dad got home. But when my dad walks in the house, he sees me like, happy and shit. And he's like, oh, did you skip? Be honest with me, Marston. And I knew that he knew. I'm like, all right, Dad, yeah, I did. And believe it or not, he wasn't that mad. He was just like, why, man, why? And I was like, to be honest, I just feel like I'm not learning anything. I think it's stupid, all that. And then he was super chill about it. He was like, all right, Marston, I understand you don't like the school. You feel like you're not learning anything, but you gotta go if you want to go to college and shit. And looking back, he was right. And I was like, all right. And then he was like, do not tell your mother whatsoever. And I was like, yeah, yeah, I know. Trust me, I won't. And then the next day rolls around, and it was kind of a funny story. My dumbass posted it on my Snap story like an absolute idiot. And one of my close buddies was friends, for whatever reason, with one of the school snitches. And the school snitch fucking goes to the dean of students and is like, oh, guess where Marston was yesterday? And the dean didn't really care that much, but he was just like, oh, so how was your day off at Dave and Buster's? Like, he was trolling me a little bit. And I was like, oh, yeah, it was good. I'd be like, I capped and said my parents wanted me to take him. I couldn't leave him home alone, so my parents were like, just bring him. And I was like, and the dean was like, okay, whatever. And then I remember I went up to the school snitch, and I was like, dog, like, you're not serious right now, right? And we'll just call the school snitch Nathan. I go up to Nathan like, bro, you're not serious, right? And he's like, dude, my bad, dude, I'm sorry. And, like, he was doing like what he always does when he's called out for snitching. And I was like, dude, like, don't fucking rat me out, dude. You're lucky that the dean was in a chill mood. Because there would be days when this dean, dude, he would bitch you out for like being on your phone or even like being like a minute late to class. Like I remember one time, I'll make a separate video about this. I got a detention for being like 3 minutes late for class, and my teacher was being a strict little bitch too. And she sent me over to the dean, and the dean was like, literally like ripping into me, acting like I just committed a crime, or something like that. But lucky for me, he was in a good mood. But then, come to find out, the dean had called my parents, I mean to both my mom and my dad, to tell them, like, oh, just letting you know, Marston skipped school yesterday. And my mom honestly wasn't as mad as I thought. She just said she was disappointed. And I think we can all relate when a parent says to you, "I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed." That's worse than being grounded. That's worse than being yelled at. All that shit. And I felt bad. I was like, look, I'm sorry. I just don't feel like I'm learning much. And, she said the same thing as my dad did. Like, if you want to go to school or go to college, get a good education after this school, you need to go. So I was like, all right, fine. I was like, I'll never skip again, which was cap. I did, which I'll tell another story about at some point. All right, that's going to be it for today's video, guys. Or videos, guys, I should say. Hope you guys enjoyed them. Leave a comment. Let me know where to improve on and shit. Yeah, alright. Bye.